got Edgar Berlanga. Early on in my channel, I supported him. He's from Brooklyn. Got to show some of my Brooklyn boys love all day, every day. I never was like a person that was really bigging him up, like, this dude is the next thing smoking, you know, because the jury was still out on Edgar Berlanga. He was known for his knockout streaks, where I think he was 15-0, I believe, at the time. I think he had it on his hat. I think it said 15-0. So all of those I think he had 15 fights, and they all ended it in the first round. And a lot of people were grabbing onto that, and they were like, "This kid is the truth." He has Fat Joe back in him, and a lot of celebrities from New York, giving him a lot of love and stuff. So a lot of the guys he was fighting early on, they were bottom of the barrel dudes, and he was just icing them and knocking them out, getting them out of there, and everybody was liking that because boxing fans, we like to see knockouts, and it's fascinating. And without a doubt, he hits hard. In some of his other fights, I've seen one of his, I think 3 fights back, I think. Man, he swole the dude eye with within seconds, bro. The dude eye was like out there, fucked up. So his power is definitely real. His power is real. But he had as he stepped up in competition, so to speak, he started having some issues, and that knockout streak ended. It ended, and usually when boxers start stepping up, we start seeing that kind of stuff. We started seeing the problems. I would say I started seeing holes in his game. Even though he knocked this guy out in the first round, the Bellows fight, Bellows was catching him with some stuff, and I'm watching, and his defense didn't look that good to me, Edgar Berlanga. But he went there, he stopped him, and he added Bellows to his list of first round knockouts. Where things really started getting interesting for Edgar Berlanga was when he fought Marcelo Coceres. A lot of people weren't expecting that. And the funny thing is, I had went and watched some old video on Caceres, and I bet on Caceres to win that fight, and he almost won. It's funny. I had bet on Caceres to stop Edgar Berlanga. It was just something about him, and then I was watching the stare down. I'm like, this dude is no joke, and I was saying that, and I had picked him to stop, I think, Edgar Berlanga in the 7th round or something like that. And the strange thing, I forgot what round he knocked Edgar Berlanga down in. And I believe that was the round that I bet for him to stop Edgar Berlanga. And it almost happened. And I would have won a lot of money, a lot. Somewhere maybe about $11,000 I would have won. But that is the fight that you got to see Edgar Berlanga completely struggled, and looked basic. But at the same time, look at Caceres' face at the end of that fight. Damaged. So the power is there. There's no denying his power. But man, he got dropped, I think, a couple of times in that fight. He got buzzed, he got rocked, hurt, wobbled, stunned. His legs was noodles. All type of stuff was happening to Edgar Berlanga in that fight. So after that fight, a lot of people started calling Edgar Berlanga a hype job. They say he's a bum, he's been exposed. And I'm just gonna give my take on this. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, but I just didn't see it was that important. But I think it was right now. I got some free time, so I had to just let this out. Do I think Edgar Berlanga has been exposed? Do I think he's a hype job? Yes and no. I think they hyped him up a little bit too much when it came to the knockout thing. They were running with that. They were running with the first round knockout dude that he gets all these first round knockouts. So they were running with that and running with that. And they were feeding the kid subpar competition. But that's how most boxers start off their careers. All boxers got a lot of these boxers' records are padded early on. That's the way it is. I don't care who it is. You look back at all these good boxers now, a lot of their records, like early on, you'll see most of them, they have fighters that have like 3 wins and 16 losses, or 3 wins and 6 losses. You'll see that on all these boxers' records. But when you keep on going off this KO streak thing, because that's where his KO streak ended, is with Marcelo Caceres. And you doing the same thing in all your fights, and then that's the problem. A lot of these boxers, they think that it's gonna be like that with all of their fights, and then they start underestimating their opponents because they're getting all these knockouts, and they're not getting the rounds in and all kind of stuff. And even Edgar Berlanga admitted he needed the rounds, but I guess his power, they're feeding this dude people that have shaky chins or they don't have any endurance to take his power. But this Caceres dude took his power, and you saw what happened in that fight. So I will say he is a hype job because they hyped him up. But was he exposed? I don't think so. This is his first fight that he looked bad in, really. So we will have to see how he looks in fights moving forward. If he keeps looking like the way he looked against Caceres and nothing's changed, they're not fixing his defense. His defense is his biggest flaw. Some even say he's chinny. I'm seeing that from a lot of people saying Edgar Berlanga is chinny. No, I don't think he's chinny. I just think he got caught with some shit that he didn't see coming, and his hands wasn't up. He didn't have his mic. He didn't have his phone to his ear, and sometimes that happens, man. He got caught. We will have to see. His chin, I can't say in that fight he looked chinny. He just got buzzed. But came back, won the fight. But a very close fight, though. That was very razor thin. But the thing is, his chin has not been proven yet all the way. It hasn't been proven. So that's questionable. His power is not questionable. His chin is. And how he looks moving forward is going to be questionable. If he looks bad in the next 2 fights, then you can say pretty much he's been exposed. And that's probably the most we're going to ever see from Edgar Berlanga. If he looks bad in the next fight, he's doing the same things he did in the last one. He gets knocked down again in the next fight. And then the next fight after that, he gets knocked down again. And then the next one after, that's going to be him. That's Edgar Berlanga. And then you can say he's been exposed. And that's going to be all she wrote for him, man. But we will see what happens in his next fight if his team is working on his flaws. Because if he fights David Benavidez like that, if he fights any of those top dudes, Caleb Plant, even Anthony Durrell will probably stop him if they don't fix a lot of things with him. But that's my thought on this. For right now, as it stands, Edgar Berlanga is a hype job because they hyped him up on those 15-round knockouts, 15 first-round knockout streak that he was on. But I can't call him exposed yet because I haven't seen him in his next fight. Every fighter is entitled to a bad fight once in a while or a bad night. It happens. It's going to happen eventually to a lot of these fighters, even your top fighters. It's going to happen to them. The longer they stay fighting, they're going to run into somebody that's going to give them hell. Trust me. It just so happens, Edgar Berlanga, his 18th fight, I believe it was 18, right? He just so happened to run into a guy that gave him hell. That's just the way it is. But anyway, let me know what you think about Edgar Berlanga. Is he a hype job, and has he been exposed? It's Rebel Life. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and I'm out.